welcome back to my channel. It's Joy. Today I've got a superhero card that I made for Maker Forte. I used the Slimline Comic Frames paper, the Yearberry Super stamp set, and the box sentiment stamp. What I love about this Slimline Comic Frames paper, not only do I love the bold colors and all of the comic references and stuff, but this takes out having to have all of the special dies that do the different windows. What Maker Forte did was print the frames on the back. So on the different colors that I am showing you, you've got two different blues, you've got the yellow, and you've got the red and the black. You can flip this over and either use your trimmer or a long shears. I used a combination for this to make my card. So I first started out with my trimmer just to get a rough cut so that I would get this slimline size. So you're seeing me lining that up with my guide bar, and then I trim off each of the sizes. And the reason I do that is one, you get to measure it so you know what size your slimline is going to be if you're making your own card base. These do fit perfectly on the Slimline card bases from Maker Forte. So keep that in mind. Those are 110-pound cardstock, and they're beautiful. I love them. But I chose to come in with my long shears, and the reason I did this was because I wasn't sure how much of a border I was going to get with my trimmer, and you're going to see that you've got some angles that would not intersect well. So unless you have a trimmer that's like a guide wire where you can slide it up and down and measure, you can't really use a guillotine, which is what I have. So I am using my shears, and I just cut out each of the individual pieces, and I cut it right on the black line. So eventually you will see that I take all of those borders out, and the reason you do that is because when you pop it up onto your card base, then you've got this white outline. I'm showing you here kind of what it looks like. So I used my other piece of black paper that I had started to use my guillotine on as a map, and that's when I had figured out that I needed to use my scissors. I opted to come in with some foam tape and pop up all of the layers. This is absolutely an unnecessary step. I like texture and dimension. If you've been around for any amount of time with me, you will know that that's my jam. And I do put down some glue onto that foam adhesive, because in case I don't get it straight, then I have a second or two to wiggle it around to get it in the way that I want. Another tip would be to tape down the inside of your Slimline card. That way it doesn't pop up, so you have a really good reference where your borders are. And the other thing is, once I put down that top corner, I made sure to keep my border on the right hand side as straight as possible, and that's kind of what you see me fidgeting with. I do try to keep all of the white borders about the same, and you'll see here I am coming back in with my trimmer, and I started a little bit too high on that top corner, so I did shave my base down just a hair to make it fit. But again, if you're better at lining things up than I am, you wouldn't have to do that, but that's just a little tip. Now I am coming in with my two different stamp sets, and I'm just trying to plan out what my layout's going to be. So you're not really seeing me do any techniques. I am just getting those down so I have a rough idea what I am going to do with my card. I ultimately choose 3 different of the superheroes from the Yearberry Super. And they have a combination of foxes. I think there's an alligator in there. There are bunnies in there, and there are raccoons. I chose a bunny and 2 raccoons for mine. That alligator was speaking to me, But I'm going to say that for a different card. My brother loves alligators, so I will be making another one for him. Hopefully I'll do a video for those, but I'm not sure. So just to give you some information, one, I am filming this during 4th of July weekend. So all of the booms that you're hearing in the background are my neighbors having a grand old time with fireworks. So I can't help that. They've been setting them off, whether it's morning, noon, or night, and I'm glad that they're having a little bit of fun. Also, coming up in July for Maker Forte, there is a Lift Your Spirits event on July 6th on YouTube. And there is a Christmas in July VIP private event that you'll have to sign up on the website for. That's on July 15th. Let's go back to the card and then I'll finish up with the updates. Now I am coming in with my boxed sentiments, and I start with the birthday sentiment. And I stamp that with Eclipse black ink using my Misty and an ink smudger because I get the best impression. Then I come in with that little boxed outline, and you'll notice that you can kind of curve that or you can make it straight. I wanted mine wonky. Now, because that is such a fine detail line, when you use your ink smudger, you just want to put light pressure on that. You don't want to do a lot, or else you're going to get a lot of smushing and wobbling. And that goes for the same for the Happy. The Happy I stamped with the Telephone Box Color Hive ink. That's a red. I just absolutely love this color, and I love the way that, this sentiment's kind of boxed in, it's framed, and it's going to make for a really cool, design element on the card later. Now this is where I come in with the 3 superheroes, and I stamp those down all at one time with my Eclipse black ink, and again, these are smaller images and they're very fine detail. So when I used my ink smooshing tool, I just put even pressure down, but I didn't do like CPR because I didn't want those lines to be wide and squished. Okay, so then I decided to come in with my copics. All of my animals are colored with the warm gray family of copics, and I used a W3, I think a W2, a W3, and a W4 for the lighter. And then I came in with the darker areas in a W8, I think a 7, and a 6. Don't look at me on the screen, it says a W9. So W9, a W8, and a W7. And I repeat that throughout. I am only showing the color for the first superhero for the sake of time. Now I did speed my coloring up by 4 times. Just to save some time and not to waste yours. Like I said, the coloring is almost the same. Then I used for my blue family a B21, a 24, and a 28. And I just did those in different, those colors blend well, and if you need something in between, like a 21 and a 24, or 24 and a 28, you can do tip-to-tip coloring, and you can do the same thing with the W grays. So even though I own all 368 copics, I ultimately try to stick to a 2 to 3 color blend for all of my colors. And because these characters are so small, a lot of times I only used 2 of the colors. Now for my red family, I used my R59, an R29, and an R24. And for some of the cheeks and ears, I used an R21. And again, I did some tip to tip. I'm going to go back to Maker Forte for a minute while we finish the coloring. They are also having a 6-hour free event with Alex called Christmas in July. That is on July 16th. So there's one on the 15th, which is a VIP that you'll have to sign up for. And then there's also going to be one on the 6th, and you'll get all the information on the website at makerforte.com. And this is a 6-hour event that's going to be held, I believe, on YouTube. So be looking for that. You may want to check out the website to get all of the details. Now that the coloring is complete, I come back in with the sentiment, and I just use my detail scissors. You could use any kind of scissors. I just used what was on my desk. And I am trimming these, leaving a small border. And again, I did not care about the perfection because we've got all the wows, the bams, the crash, all the stuff going on in the background. So I wanted my sentiment to be wonky. So I did this purposely. If you're somebody that wants everything to be straight and perfectly done, then by all means use a die cut. I did pop this up with foam tape as well, and I centered that on the card front. I made sure to put down the 3 characters so I kind of had an idea where they were going to go, even though you're going to see in the final images that I changed my design a little bit, but I did start with my sentiment being in the center, just to draw the eye in. Now this is kind of a busy print, so I wanted that white sentiment, that block, to kind of break things up to give the eye a break. Now for each of the characters, I popped those up with foam as well, with the exception of the nose of the little guy that's going on the sentiment, and that's just because the sentiment box is popped up, so I didn't want it to be different heights. I wanted everything to kind of lay flat. So I ultimately did build a card. I also added some stars, which you can see in the final pictures. I'm kind of zooming in on these so that you get an idea of the entire design, but I love how this turned out. If you have stuck with me this long, please consider liking and subscribing and leaving me a comment. Until next time, friends, keep crafting. Bye-bye.